2025 for the Miami Marlins was actually pretty solid for the most part. Let's take a look at the Marlins' last 5 seasons, because honestly 2025 was really not that bad. Obviously they went 79 and 83, almost at 500, so honestly played pretty solid for the most part, and I really don't think a lot of people expected them to be a really good team. And they had a lot of guys that kind of came out of nowhere and ended up being really good players, which was a really cool story to see. Obviously their last 5 seasons, they obviously made the postseason in 2023. They absolutely got destroyed by the Phillies, unfortunately. Besides from that, we haven't had a lot to expect from this team, but in 2025 we had seen a couple good players come out of nowhere, like Xavier Edwards, for example. Kyle Stowers had a really good month in May, and he basically just continued that throughout the whole season, which was really impressive. And like we said with Xavier Edwards, he also had a really good season, so definitely some hopes in the Marlins camp. Especially they surprised me for sure. But let's take a look at their contract situation, because there's actually not really a lot going on here. The only really notable contract is the Sandy Alcantara contract. He obviously signed this contract back in 2022. He's got 1 year left in 2026, and then he has a team option in 2027. So we've heard a lot of rumors, especially on the trade deadline, of maybe a deal happening with Sandy Alcantara. I think it's happened the last 2 years at this point around the trade deadline. I'm assuming at some point he's going to get traded, because he really hasn't been the best as of recently, especially with all the injuries he had, right? Missing a couple years hasn't really been great for him. But that 2022 season was his best year, so I don't really know where he's going to stand with this team much further. I could definitely see him getting traded. I don't know. We just got to kind of wait and see. And the Marlins did go and sign 2 new players, both from the Tampa Bay Rays, which was Christopher Morel, who I definitely like a lot. That was a 1 year, $2 million contract. And they obviously signed Pete Fairbanks from the Rays as well. That was a 1 year, $13 million contract. Besides for that, basically everyone is in arbitration on this team, so that's pretty much all the money they have committed so far is on those 3 players. And they're still paying $10 million to the Yankees for the Giancarlo Stanton trade, which they're paying $10 million over the next 3 years, which is kind of crazy they're still paying for that, to be honest. So on Baseball Reference, it has them at $63.7 million, but it also doesn't have Pete Fairbanks' contract in yet. So if you add that up, that ends up being $76 million. So we'll kind of see where the Marlins go from there. Obviously in 2025, they spent $90 million on their payroll, being the 30th team in the league. So it seems they're going to be quite similar to where they were in 2025, at least with how much dollars they have spent to the team so far, because maybe they go out and sign a couple more players or something like that. You know, I think that could definitely be a possibility. They get some B, C, D type players on their team. We'll kind of just wait and see moving forward. Let's take a look at the 2026 Marlins roster, because it's honestly pretty solid. Let's start with this rotation. Obviously, this is one of their better parts of their franchise, right? Sandy Alcantara, Edwin Cabrera, and Perez are all very solid pitchers. I mean, that 1-3 punch is very solid for the most part. And they got guys like Braxton Garrett on here now, Max Mayer, and Ryan Withers. So they definitely got a lot of talent in the rotation, which is going to be very exciting. And this is obviously how they were able to win so many games in 2025. So I'm definitely excited to see, you know, how this rotation develops moving forward into the new year. And I definitely think they have a shot to be one of the better rotations in Major League Baseball. Now let's take a look at the Marlins bullpen, because once again, they obviously added Pete Fairbanks to be their closer. I think that was a very solid pickup. And once again, they have a couple good players in here as well. And I do think some of those starting pitchers are obviously going to come down to this bullpen, right? So their bullpen is going to be pretty solid for the most part. But I definitely think it could be pretty solid moving forward in 2026. Now let's take a look at the starting 9 for the Miami Marlins. Starting at the catcher position, I think Ramirez is probably going to start if I had to take a guess. Now they do have Morel playing first base on their roster, which is interesting because he's played basically, you know, third base most of his career. So it looks like he's going to play first base for the Miami Marlins here, which is definitely an interesting position, but it's really not that hard to learn. So I guess Christopher Morel is going to play first base. Obviously, Xavier Edwards is going to play second base. And then Connor Noble is going to play third. And then Otto Lopez is going to play shortstop. And then moving on to this outfield, obviously, Kyle Stowers is going to play left field, one of their best players on the team right now. Jacob Morosky is going to play center field. And then Grifford Conine is going to play right field. And then for DH, there's a lot of options. I'd probably put Liam Hicks at the DH position if I had to guess. Obviously, now these teams use so many different rosters, so everything is probably going to be subject to change, honestly. So that's the Marlins roster. Pretty solid roster for the most part. I definitely think they could have another solid season again. But let's move over to the top 100 prospects. The Marlins have 4 guys in the top 100, which is very impressive. We're going to start with our first player. Coming at number 22 is going to be Thomas White. Now, he was drafted in 2023 in the competitive balance round at pick 35. And in 2025, he played for 3 different teams in the Marlins organization and having a 2.31 ERA and about 90 innings. So spent most of the time at the AA level and honestly looked pretty good, especially with those ERA and his stats. And he had over 145 strikeouts at about 90 innings, which is also pretty impressive. So definitely going to be a solid player. His ETA is 2026, so this could be a big year for him, especially in spring training or the spring breakout. Obviously, a left-handed pitcher is going to help him out a lot, but definitely a solid piece that the Marlins could have soon in the MLB. Now, coming in at number 41 is going to be Abreva Arquette. Now, he was drafted in the first round in 2025 by the Miami Marlins at pick 7, and he actually played a decent amount of games in 2025, playing 27 with the high A team, batting at 242. Obviously, not the greatest stats ever, but it is a small sample size, so definitely think he's going to be a pretty good player once his development kicks off. Now, he is an ETA 2028, so he's got a lot of time to develop in the minor leagues, so I think he's going to have a bounce back 2026. His 2025, I think, is whatever. I think it was cool to see him play first time in pro ball, but I definitely think his 2026 is where he's going to prove himself to be a really good player. Now, coming at number 51 is going to be Robbie Snelling. Now, he was drafted in the competitive balance round by San Diego, and he had a pretty good 2025 for the most part. He had 2.51 ERA in 136 innings. And he actually played better in AAA than he did AA, which is pretty impressive. Having a 1.67 ERA in AAA. And honestly pitched pretty well with the innings. Basically split time throughout the season. Hit 166 strikeouts, which is pretty good. Yeah, definitely could be a solid player. His ETA was 2025, so he kind of missed that mark. We'll see if he gets the chance in spring training and the spring breakout, obviously to prove himself with this Marlins team. And we'll see if he ends up making that opening day roster. Now, coming at number 70 is going to be Joe Mack. He was a catcher drafted by the Marlins in 2021 in the competitive balance round at pick 31. And he's been in the minors for quite some time, to be honest. In 2025, he played really good in AA, only having 13 games here. Played 99 games at AAA and batted at 250. So we'll kind of see where he's going to be in 2026. His ETA was 2025, and he never played in the MLB so far. So once again, another guy that's going to have to prove himself at spring training, maybe the spring breakout. We'll kind of see where he's going to go in the future because his minor league stats aren't the greatest when looking at it, but we'll kind of see how he is at major league talent. That's obviously where it matters the most, but an interesting prospect to say the least coming for Joe Mack. So those are the 4 players the Marlins had in their top 100. Some of them are very solid for sure, and I think some of them I'm definitely excited to see in spring training and see if they make their opening day roster because I definitely think they could be really good players. So going over my prediction for the Miami Marlins, obviously they had a really good 2025. I feel like they gotta follow that up with a really good 2026, and I think this team might be at 500 once again or a little bit above 500. It's really hard to put them, it's really hard to predict them super highly just based off what we've seen over the last couple of seasons and some of the players that they have. You know, do we think Kyle Stowers is gonna have another great season? What about Xavier Edwards? Do we think another guy's gonna pop off? You know, it's kind of hard to see where they're gonna go. Same with the pitching, like we don't know about that either. Obviously, some of their guys have been really good in 2025, and we'll see how they go in 2026. We'll kind of just wait and see. I'm gonna predict them pretty similar to their 2023 season. I think there'll be a couple games above 500 if they play their best season. Obviously, they're in a pretty tough division now. I expect the Mets, Phillies, and Braves to be very good. So we'll kind of see where the Marlins fall moving forward, but that's kind of where I see this team in 2026. Let me know that in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What's your take on the 2026 Miami Marlins? With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Definitely make sure you guys follow me on all my socials, linked down below in the description. You can follow me on X for all of our updates. You can follow me on Instagram for all of our clips. If you want to talk more about MLB or MLB The Show, make sure you guys join the Discord, linked down below in the description. And also check out the merch. We're going to have some new designs dropping in 2026, which is going to be very exciting. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everyone.